If you caught my first video featuring the Nolly Fugitive on my channel, you may recall me mentioning that I prefer aluminum frames for my trail bike. Yes, my hardtail is steel, and my gravel bike, and my road bike, but for my trail bike I do enjoy an aluminum frame. For me and my riding style, I think the aluminum frame gives me the greatest peace of mind. And in this video, I'm going on a bit of an adventure ride, exploring a new trail system to me in, you may have guessed it, New Jersey, as you can tell by the rocks. And the rocks are an important piece of this puzzle. For example, how many of you have been out on a ride and maybe your friend or yourself, you got a little stuck in a technical section, you get jammed up, have a little crash, you kind of have to bail off the bike, and you hear your carbon fiber frame scratch or smack into a rock, and you look and the paint's a little scuffed up, and now you start analyzing it. Ooh, is this a crack or is it just a paint scratch? And now you're trying to get back on the bike and enjoy the rest of your ride, maybe even push yourself, do some things that scare you a little bit, check off some new features, but that crack, or is it just a scratch, is in the back of your mind, haunting you, waiting to pounce. Will your chainstay crack in half at the worst possible moment? Who's to say? And I know that's all a nightmare we don't want to have to think about. But for me and my wallet, I enjoy the peace of mind of just owning an aluminum frame, a metal frame that will likely stand the test of time. Unless there is some kind of manufacturing defect, this thing is going to hold up to anything that I can throw at it. I am not an insane rider. I like to ride rocky stuff. Maybe the bike will hit some rocks, but it's not going to be at Mach Chicken, I can tell you that. Something that's so interesting for me is in my 10 years of riding, I have never had to warranty any kind of frame that I've owned, knock on wood. But so many people that I know who have been riding for even shorter durations of time, they get on a carbon bike so quickly because it's identified as the peak performance for mountain bikes, and yet getting into a warranty situation is pretty common. And I imagine you, as well as myself, we value our time to go for a ride above all else. We don't want to be dealing with a manufacturer, a bike shop. Even if we love our local bike shop, you want to be able to get out and ride. Even if the company you bought your bike from has a great warranty, lifetime warranty, whatever it may be, why do you even want to have to deal with that in the first place? I cannot even think of anyone who had to warranty an aluminum bike except for one person that was particularly tall as well as overweight. So his seat was so high and it basically cracked the seat tube because he was exerting so much leverage on the seat post. And this is a pretty significant outlier for most people. And even that, I can't imagine that would crack catastrophically. You could just see the seat tube starting to bend. Another point I'd like to make is when you talk about the skill and intensity of riding that professional riders do versus average riders do, it's interesting. Yes, carbon fiber can still excel at the professional level, but professionals crack carbon frames all the time, and amateur riders can crack carbon frames. I'm curious if anyone has really seen catastrophic aluminum frame failures in their everyday rides with their buddies, their group rides, etc. I would imagine it's much more common that you've seen someone's ride end pretty abruptly due to a carbon fiber frame failure. And I will reiterate, I am from a mechanical engineering background. I know the tensile strength of carbon fiber is extremely impressive, and used correctly, it has incredible properties. But just the nature of the sport, there are very abrupt impacts that we cannot foresee. And aluminum is better at dealing with those things in a non-catastrophic manner. And for most of us, I imagine we just want to be able to go out for a ride as often as we can, not worrying about things being in the shop or sending it back to the manufacturer. And you just want to make sure that you get home safely to your friends and family after getting in a nice ride. So for me, that's kind of my thought process. Why, yes, carbon fiber does feel super stiff, and oftentimes that feels really nice. It's just not really worth it. I don't want to deal with the extra cost. The weight savings aren't significant enough for me. And I kind of just enjoy that peace of mind. I don't like to have to worry about that. I just want to be able to grab my bike week after week and go for a ride, not be inspecting every scratch, every chip that I see, and start to worry, ooh, is this actually safe to ride? I kind of heard a little creaking, that's sketching me out. None of that ever really crosses my mind. And don't even get me started on carbon fiber handlebars. Jeez, those scare the crap out of me. Even if it's a 1 in a million chance, I do not want to get impaled by a broken carbon fiber handlebar. Now, even though carbon fiber handlebars have a nice flex to them and make it extra comfy on your ride, I do kind of like the flexier nature of an aluminum bike in the rear end. With my Commencel Meta TR V4, I could definitely say that the chainstay was a bit flexier than other bikes I've tried, especially carbon ones in the shorter travel configurations. And to me, I actually kind of like that. I think when you're not racing at the highest level or trying to gain every millisecond on the clock, that kind of comfort and flex can kind of make riding for longer periods of time a bit easier on your body and get less vibrations through the bike. And to end this video, I'd like to touch on the resale value of aluminum bikes. Oftentimes carbon fiber bikes will of course be selling for more even on the used market. But for me, I want the peace of mind of, even if I was buying a secondhand bike, that whatever this person has done to it throughout its riding life, it's probably still going to hold up for me. And maybe they've gotten a lot of paint chips, a lot of damage, scratches on the frame, but the fundamental strength of it hasn't deteriorated. With a carbon fiber frame, if you see someone that's really ridden the bike, you start to be a bit more weary of purchasing. And yet it's going for higher prices because maybe it's a nicer build or you're just paying that premium for the frame. So for me, I feel more comfortable selling an aluminum bike. I feel more comfortable buying an aluminum bike on the used market. And I think that's something not to overlook. So that just about wraps up my thoughts about aluminum frames, comparing them a little bit to carbon frames. Just my opinion, but I'd love to hear yours. What is your experience with owning carbon or aluminum frames? Have you flip-flopped between the two? What have you settled on nowadays? And let's have a discussion. So hopefully you enjoyed watching this video. And remember, stay venturing, my friends.